Welcome once again to another episode as my series continues. This will be day 11 of my series, My Harus Don't Appear on a Stamp. And this elder here definitely didn't appear on the stamp as long as I could remember. Let me just do it right there. The gentleman the brother that you see here, this is Dr. Vernon Johns. Now, a lot of y'all that's 90s babies or in the millennials, y'all was always taught in high school about Dr. Martin Luther King. You know, and don't get me wrong, like, you know, meet the man who preceded him. Dr. Vernon Johns was a Baptist minister, as well as an activist, a straight-up firebrand and hellraiser. Born April 22nd. So, you know, is it born April 22nd? If I'm not mistaken. But Vernon Johns, Dr. Johns preceded him. In fact, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar directed a movie on this, the Vernon Johns story, with James Earl Jones playing the great Dr. Johns. As you can see here, yes, St. James Earl Jones, another one of my heroes and stuff. You know, majority of y'all only know him as the man as being the voice of Darth Vader. That's become infamous. But James Earl Jones played a lot of serious roles and stuff. But he played Dr. Vernon Johns in here. See, when I decided to do this, you know, it's a lot of things a lot of our people don't know, except what they were taught by the oppressor. You know, just like I'm gonna stay on Martin Luther King here for a minute. In high school, they only want to teach you about the Martin Luther King from the early '60s, who was all about integration and being docile and domesticated. You know, before he led up to the so-called 1963 March on Washington, which was, he had to have a dream speech, which, truth be told, it was nothing but a dream. See, Dr. Vernon Johns, he was totally the opposite of that. But here's the thing, what had happened. You know, and I pulled this article up. This is from the Chicago Tribune. You know, Dr. Vernon Johns, a visionary, fire-breathing Baptist preacher in segregationist Montgomery, Alabama. This was in the early 1950s. You know, I mean, Johns helped ignite the tender of the civil rights movement that ultimately would transfix and change the nation. But here's the thing, what happened with Dr. Johns, and I'm going to tell you why. Now, before his dreams were realized, he was turned upon and rejected by his own people, ending his days unknown and unsung, which basically means we would have never found out about it if people did their homework. Ironically, the congregation that cast off Johns as being too radical and dangerous, they replaced him with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., young preacher who eventually would prove to hold similar ideas and have a far better grasp of the tools of publicity. In other words, they wanted somebody that was going to be docile. Now, keep in mind, I did a podcast about a year ago with Martin Luther King, John Lewis, Whitney Young, Roy Wilkins, Philip A. Farmer, James Farmer, and Philip Randolph. They were the big six. You know, they were the ones who were the connect to the black community when you had, at that time, white leaders. At that time, it was Kennedy. And also, you got to understand, too, all of them were backed by some of the, backed by white-owned financial institutions. as well. And see, like with Dr. King, y'all knew Dr. Martin Luther King was Boule. He was part of the Boule, which happens to be Black Secret Society that my master teacher, may he rest in peace, Steve Coakley, talked about. Get it right. That's the Boule symbol right there. Steve Coakley talked about you got what you have there with the Boule is a griffin, and the griffin, which has the body of a lion, wings of an eagle, and basically the head and face of or whatever. And you see it's got its paw on top of an urn or a vase. So basically, griffin is basically supposed to be a protector. So it's guarding something in that vase. You see, like the Greek symbols, my Greek ain't up to par, but I know enough about with the Boule and stuff. Even met some of them. They the circle within the circle. They basically like advisor to the king, so they in the circle within. It's mostly like with the skull and bones. Now it's supposed to be like the griffin or a sphinx. You could put it that way, but not a griffin, I'm sorry. A sphinx more like. This is more like that's the real sphinx right there. And that's the sphinx you see there. And you have prominent members that are part of the Boule and stuff. Will Smith, Halle Berry, Denzel Washington, they're part of that. Oprah Winfrey, Quincy Jones. Especially Quincy Jones, so and we all know how Quincy get down. All the things. So see, Martin Luther King, Boule, Steve Harvey, Boule, Shaq, Jesse Jackson, Bill Cosby, all them like that. Because that's the symbol of the Boule right there, which is a sphinx. The sphinx is a guardian or something. A guardian that of skull and bones. But let's just get back to what I was saying. Great. Okay. So John's astonishing and inspiring story has been made into the Vernon John story, which played James Earl Jones, who I told y'all made like that. But I'm gonna leave the link in the description for it, but I'm just gonna read a couple more paragraphs so that way y'all can get a grip or something like this. Dr. Vernon Johns is an American hero. In the early 1950s, Johns was pastor of Montgomery's Dexter Avenue Baptist Church, known for the relative affluence and conservatism of its all-black congregation. With an radical style said to be spellbinding, Johns urged the members of his flocks to break out of their complacency and acceptance of segregation and discrimination. Preaching radical notions of social change and black independence, he called upon them to use their economic power against the white establishment to provoke change. In other words, Dr. Vernon Johns was a proponent against white supremacy, just like Booker T. Washington. A lot of people think Booker T. Washington was a coon, but he didn't want no coon. Booker T. Washington hated white supremacy, and so did Dr. Vernon Johns. And I'm finna tell y'all somebody else who was also against it. A similar message was preached by John's contemporary, the Reverend Adam Clayton Powell, and organizing a more publicized and successful boycott of white-owned 125th Street stores in New York's Harlem at about the same time. Now, Dr. King eventually would employ these means in leading the Montgomery bus boycott later in the decade. But Johns, who grew and sold vegetables to his community to encourage revolt against white-owned stores, alarmed his elders with the power and fury of his rhetoric. So he was fired and replaced with the seemingly more circumspect and better behaved young King. Make a long story short, like I said, Martin Luther King at that time, he was docile. That's the Martin Luther King that they teach our kids in these public schools all the time. Just turn the other cheek if you get hit. They ain't want to talk about the King from after 65 down to 67 and 68. Well, Martin Luther King was going to the same route what Malcolm was saying, meeting with Elijah Muhammad, and his life was in danger, and he got turned down because he was trying to purchase a handgun, and he got turned down. With all that integration, and also found out that shit wasn't working. That's when King started to realize, I may have led my people into a burning house. Dr. Vernon Johns wasn't with that. He was saying, look, we ain't gonna catch, during those times, we're not gonna catch no bus, nothing that's owned or shot by whites. Let me find something real quick I could show you rather than tell you. And I think this was a very, very important lesson. It's a scene from that movie. Here you go. I want y'all to see this real quick. And it's often talk about what we talk about, like with group economics. Just want to let y'all watch this.
We're not going back to that restaurant, are we? No. Brother Hill, what do you see? I see a grocery store. What do you see? I see a whole mess of Negro dollars going into white pockets. Look at that. They'll take our money, but they despise us so much, they will not touch our hands in the exchange. Money is power, Brother Hill. You ain't lying. And why are we turning over our power to people who despise us?
But Dr. John, the members of our congregation are professional people. They're not business-oriented.
Yeah, and that's our biggest mistake. Right now, we are only consumers. If we're only consumers, we're parasites. You want a definition of perpetual motion? Give the average Negro a Cadillac and tell him to park it on some land that he owns. If gold was discovered in the hottest regions of hell, the whites would be there within a fortnight, mining it for all its wealth. colored will show up 3 weeks later, offering their services as maids and butlers. The thing to do is to get there first. We don't think that way. Just to show you what can be done on a small parcel of land, I grew these at the parsonage. And left the roots and the tops on to prove they are not store-bought. The Bible tells us that a feast is made for laughter, and wine maketh merry, but money answereth all things. Now, what does that mean? It means that whoever controls the money has all the answers. You get control of the money by producing. Negroes need to own more businesses, and Negroes need to patronize those businesses. By the way, I noticed that some of you were staring at my feet this morning because I had neglected to wear shoestrings. Well, I'll start wearing them when Negro folks start producing them.
Speaking Wilkes.
Now look, watch careful.
Famous preacher is up to now.
Get your hands.
Shameful.
Stop it. Vince. You need it, I got it. What nonsense.
Is there?
Vince.
What's what I am?
What's happening out here?
Good day, Reverend Johns. Look at all this.
Buy wholesale and sell retail. Anybody can do it. Eventually I plan to set up a store in the basement of the church.
This is something my First Baptist congregation should be doing.
Reverend Abernathy, between you and me, these nylon stockings are not big sellers amongst my congregation. It's a matter.
That's Reverend Ralph Abernathy, best friend Martin Luther King. Dr. Vernon Jones is older than both of them. But you see what he's doing? The lesson should be learned.
Modesty, the size of the
Let it finish.
Well, I'm sure the question of size would be a difficult question for the good women of Dexter. But we ain't modest in my church. I'll sell all of these nylons next Sunday.
We'll have the details later.
Great idea. Wish I had thought it.
Watermelons! Sweet juicy watermelons!
Oh, Lord.
But my point is, the point is like that, you know. My point is this. That's a lesson like that, because at the beginning y'all seen what he was talking about, and we talk about that like with group economics. That's what Dr. Vernon Johns was talking about. You know, we go ahead and we spend our hard-earned dollar right back to the same group of demographic of people who basically they smile in our face that they want our money, but they really despise us. And how many times, let me ask y'all this, and y'all can say it down in the comment section. Tell me if I'm wrong. How many times have we gone into stores or supermarkets or typical food chain stores, and we spend our money at one of these white-owned, these cracker-owned places or whatever just to get something? And when they give us our change, they don't put it in our hand, they put it right there on the counter. You know, when I see that, I be like this. I leave that shit right there, and I leave everything right there. And I tell them, give my money back, and I'm gone. And don't even come back. And I'm going to make sure I tell everybody in that area, don't go to that store. Period. Because, see, you despise us so much. You know, like one LVC said, and I love the catchphrase, a cracker is a cracker is a cracker is a coon is a peck of wood. You know, you hate us so much, but you love our money. Case in point, every year, late May, Memorial Day weekend, right down here in Miami, we call it Urban Beach Weekend. You know, now don't get me wrong, I love to see my brothers and sisters from all over the country descend down here in my city and get out here and have a good time and so on and so forth. But here's one of the things we need to do, and I think I've been pushing this for two and a half, nearly 3 years now. Just by word of mouth. Instead of spending y'all money on these stores over there on South Beach, go over to the mainland, come into Overtown, come into Liberty City, go into Brown Sub, go into Opelika, Miami Gardens, and spend your money there. Spend your money at a black-owned business. And you seen what on the movie what he was doing after his sermon. He had a cart out there. He had everything everybody wanted. Wanted watermelon, fresh grown corn. He even showed you how he pulled the carrots up and how he grew them. That's basically he telling y'all he telling us about like with group economics. That motherfucker shit. We need to get away. Don't settle for complacency. Break away from that shit and start doing your own. Like he was telling the young brother when they walked to the store. We going ahead and we giving these people all our power. And I'm a very firm believer, yes, money is power. At the same time, money come and go. But see, he who has the money has the power. All y'all don't watch Scarface with Al Pacino playing Tony Montana and all that shit. And that's true. He talking about economics. That's real black power. It's the same thing that Dr. Boyce Watkins teaches about. It's the same thing Dr. Claude Anderson talks about. Vernon Johns is talking the same thing. He taught that 50 years ago, like what Dr. Claude Anderson is talking about now. But you seen at the end, you seen how one of the old dude and old gospel lady, they was like snickering and rolling their eyes, despising Dr. Johns and all that. But they not looking at the bigger picture, because you know why? Because they too complacent. They gonna go ahead and be comfortable with white daddy. Dr. Vernon Johns wasn't on that. And so those two people, along with a few others, conspired to push Dr. Vernon Johns out and put Martin Luther King in there. Reason speaking, King was still young, but at the same time, he was docile. Yes, he had a grip of the publicity because he had the backing of the white boys. And see, them crackers know you got somebody like that, he gonna keep the Negroes in line. And the Negroes, no matter what we do to them, they still gonna come here and spend money with us. And we just gonna take them for everything. Dr. Vernon Johns was trying to wake y'all ass up. Just like what he said about with the church nowadays. I think I could find another clip of that, of the movie, or the Vernon Johns story. You can find that anywhere. You can probably find that right like I did on YouTube. And this like this, because this man here, he definitely was a hero, and I definitely enjoyed the movie. What he was trying to do. But like I say, the way how some of the people, some of the board of deacons or whatever they had at that time conspired to get him out of there. Noble Drew Ali said a long time ago that if we not careful, our own people will mess around and put us back in slavery. Dr. Vernon Johns was trying to break us up out of that shit. He was telling you, dog, nigga, be self-sufficient. Don't go give your money, give away your power to a group of people, a demographic that deep down subconsciously hate us because we have a melanated proportion and they're not. They hate us because of the fact of the matter that they dying out, but they being duped by that same system of white supremacy as well. Because I said this before, me, Irv Griffin, a lot of us done said it before. That the white supremacy doesn't even benefit even them. It only benefits the 1%. 1% like Donald Trump. People like that. that 1% is nothing more than just a small minority. Okay? This shit is bigger. This is bigger than me. It's bigger than Ticket, bigger than LVZ, bigger than Jason Black, Professor Truth, Cynthia G, the entire LDBC, you know, bigger than Boyce Watkins, bigger than all the freedom fighters, Radical Home Goddess, Torian Rain, all of us. That's just a little small microcosm. But the salute goes to Dr. Vernon Johns, man. And he definitely deserves that like in this menagerie of Harus. You know. He is exactly what a minister is supposed to be. Not these ones you got here. TD Jakes, Creflo Dollar. That, what's that cracker's name? Joel Steen or whatever his name is. And I could bring a little bit more closer to home here. Eddie Long dead. The other cat from New Birth here. Bishop Victor Curry. All these guys. Even the so-called Reverend Jesse Jackson, man. Jesse Jackson ain't shit. I'm gonna be honest with you. But never mind that. They pushed Vernon Johns out because, you know, Vernon Johns wasn't part of that clique. He wasn't part of the boule. He wasn't part of that big six that I told y'all about. King is part of that big six. Malcolm said about 50 years ago that Malcolm ain't want to be part of. You know. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave a link in this story to the description. The Vernon Johns story, you could probably find it somewhere on YouTube or you can find it online free. But it was written and directed by the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You know. See, y'all think Kareem was just somebody that could play basketball and Hall of Fame and all that. Kareem, boy, look here, it's levels to this. There's levels to this. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to leave the link in the description and all that. Whatever else y'all want to know about Dr. Vernon Johns, I mean, I'm more than happy to go ahead and share that with you. You know, just leave the comments down in the comment section or let me know. So when y'all subscribe, make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell. So therefore, when a new video uploads, you'll know it. And with that said, I will be back with another one.